Okay, so get ready, because today we are going to dive deep into this wild idea, the simulation hypothesis.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
It's a big one.
it is a big one, and we've got a really interesting mix of source material for this one.
Yeah,
We've got physics papers,
Uh-huh.
philosophy excerpts, even a whole book about the idea that our universe is actually a simulation.
I know, and it's fascinating how this question, are we living in a simulation?
Yeah.
Is like it's attracting the attention of some really serious physicists and philosophers. It's not just like
Right.
science fiction anymore.
No, not at all. It's really making people stop and think.
Yeah. So to start things off, you included some stuff about the Mandela effect,
Yes.
which I have definitely seen online.
Sure.
You know, like people who swear that the Berenstein Bears was always spelled that way.
Yeah.
Not Berenstain. Like,
Well,
Miss Goldberg.
we're people who like vividly remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison
Yes.
like decades ago.
Yeah.
Even though he lived till 2013.
These like collective memory discrepancies are like fuel for the simulation idea.
It's like, are we all glitching?
There's glitches in the matrix.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But honestly, sometimes I can barely remember what I ate for breakfast.
Right.
So
Sure.
couldn't this just be our memories being a bit off?
You're completely right.
Yeah.
The most likely explanation is our good old fallible
Yeah.
human memory.
Yeah. We're not for
Not perfect recording devices.
No.
Our memories are influenced by
all sorts of things.
all sorts of things. Suggestions, what other people believe, even our own desires for how a story should go.
Right. Like we
Yeah.
kind of rewrite history ourselves
Exactly.
in our minds.
Yeah.
So, okay. So maybe the Mandela effect isn't like
All right.
the smoking gun that some people think it is.
Sure.
But what about this idea of a multiverse
Yeah.
that feels like it's edging a little closer to simulation territory?
You're right. The multiverse concept, while it's still theoretical, it is taken seriously by physicists.
Okay.
And it all kind of circles back to this mind-blowing world of quantum mechanics.
Quantum mechanics. I'll admit that's always been a little confusing to me.
Yeah,
But, like-
it's a field that often feels like it's operating by a different set of rules.
Yeah.
But think back to Schrodinger's cat, that
Yeah.
thought experiment.
Okay.
A cat sealed in a box is both alive and dead until we look inside.
Right.
That both at once state is called superposition.
Okay. I've heard of that. But how does a cat in a box relate to the possibility of us living in a simulation?
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Some physicists believe that quantum superposition doesn't just apply to tiny particles,
Uh-huh.
but to the entire universe.
Okay. Damn it.
Yeah. Every time a quantum measurement occurs,
Yeah.
the universe splits.
Mm.
Each split represents a different outcome,
Okay.
creating a new timeline.
Wow.
This is one way physicists are thinking about the multiverse.
So there could be a timeline where I actually did become a world-famous physicist.
It's possible.
And another where this podcast is like a global phenomenon.
Precisely.
And then one where it never even existed.
Or one where it never existed at all.
Wow.
This is the many worlds interpretation, or MWI.
Okay.
Right?
MWI.
Got it. Now, you might be thinking, how does this relate to us being in a simulation?
Yeah.
Well, some physicists propose that each of these branching timelines could be a separate simulation,
Oh, wow.
running in parallel on a massive cosmic computer.
Okay, that is a lot to process. But I'm starting to see how these pieces might fit together.
Yeah.
We've got potential glitches in our reality. The idea of multiple timelines. But how do physicists even begin to imagine a universe that's actually simulated? What would that even look like?
That's where things get even more mind-boggling.
Okay.
Think about how far video games have come from simple pixelated figures to like expansive immersive worlds that feel incredibly real.
Yeah, you're talking about games like SimWorld, where you can build entire cities and control these little digital people.
Exactly. And as technology continues to advance,
Right.
virtual reality, artificial intelligence, brain-computer interfaces, that line between the virtual and the real keeps getting blurrier.
It's true. It's getting
Wow.
really blurry.
Yeah.
So instead of controlling these little digital people in SimWorld, are you suggesting that we are the digital beings completely unaware that our reality is actually code?
It's a radical idea.
Yeah.
But some argue that we wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Wow.
Everything we experience, the laws of physics, our thoughts, even our emotions,
Right.
could all be part of this highly sophisticated program running on some cosmic supercomputer.
That's both fascinating and a little unsettling.
Right.
It makes you wonder who would even create such a simulation and why.
Those are the million-dollar questions.
Right.
And those are the questions we'll explore as we dive deeper into this mind-bending hypothesis.
All right, I am ready. So it's like
Right.
we're living in this ultimate video game, but instead of realizing it when we die and see the loading screen, we just like keep going.
Yeah, in a way.
It's kind of terrifying.
It is a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, and also makes you wonder, like, if our reality is a simulation, could we ever actually prove it?
That's the question, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like trying to find evidence of your computer while you're playing a video game on it.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Although I did see something about a cosmic ray cutoff.
Yeah.
In the material you sent, what is that?
So some physicists believe we might find clues in these like little anomalies
Okay.
that don't quite fit with our current understanding of the universe.
Uh-huh.
Like this cosmic ray cutoff comes from the idea that a simulation would have a finite resolution,
Okay.
a limit to how much detail it can render.
So like a really advanced video game.
Exactly. And if
Uh-huh.
that's the case, we might be able to detect that limit in
wow.
the energy spectrum of cosmic rays.
So not like seeing the pixels in the sky, but scientists noticing something that just like shouldn't be there.
Exactly.
It's like, oh wait, that's like
Like the
it's
resolution,
the background.
the underlying structure.
Yeah, the underlying structure of the simulation.
Exactly, and it's not just cosmic rays. Physicists are also looking at discrepancies in like fundamental constants,
Okay.
like the muon G2 value as like potential hints of a simulated reality.
So they're really looking for this stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
It's fascinating.
But let's say, like, hypothetically, they find something.
Okay.
What does that mean for us?
Right.
Like, do we even change anything?
I mean, those are the questions that really make you think about the nature of reality, right? I mean,
Right.
for one, it kind of throws a wrench in the concept of free will.
Oh, yeah, because if our universe is basically code,
Mm.
are our choices actually ours? Or are they just, like, pre-programmed
Exactly.
by the
That's
simulation?
like choosing your character's actions in a video game.
Right.
There's an illusion of choice.
But you can only do...
But ultimately, you're limited by how the game was designed.
Right, you can only do what the game allows you to do.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
And it goes even deeper than that.
Okay.
It makes us question what it even means for something to be real.
Right, because what is real
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
this is all we know?
Exactly. Is there a difference between a simulated experience and a real one if the simulation is all we've ever known?
Whoa. That's deep, man.
Big questions.
And it takes us back to those million-dollar questions, right?
Yeah.
Who are these hypothetical simulators?
Right.
Why even do this?
Why create this elaborate digital universe?
Right. Are they benevolent overlords or like indifferent programmers who are just running experiments?
Right. What's going on?
Or is it something else entirely that we haven't even thought of?
Exactly. It's a lot. We can only speculate.
Yeah.
But this is where the why of the simulation, I think, becomes even more fascinating than the how.
Yeah.
If it's more than just entertainment or
If
observation.
they're actually trying to
Then what's the purpose?
learn something.
What could they be hoping to learn from us?
Yeah.
Right?
That is really interesting. And also, you sent over some stuff about substrate independence.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
What is that, and like, how does that fit into this whole thing?
Yeah, so substrate independence is this idea that consciousness isn't bound to any specific physical form.
Okay.
So it could exist in a biological brain, a silicon chip, or even within a simulated reality.
So you're saying that our thoughts, our feelings, our sense of self, it's all just information.
Exactly.
And that information could be encoded in different ways.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And if consciousness is fundamentally information, it could theoretically be transferred, downloaded,
Yeah.
even uploaded into a different simulation.
Whoa. Okay, hold on.
Which brings us to another fascinating concept, mind uploading.
Are you saying we could like upload our consciousness into a computer or another simulated world?
It's definitely on the fringes of what's currently possible, but as technology continues to advance, particularly in fields like brain-computer interfaces and artificial intelligence,
Right.
it's not entirely implausible to imagine a future where we could create a digital copy of our minds.
Wow. So we could potentially live forever.
It's a possibility.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've gone from glitches in the Matrix to alternate realities, quantum mechanics, consciousness, and now the possibility of digital immortality.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is.
Yeah.
I need like a minute to process this. But before we do, I also wanted to ask you about this concept of a core loop. that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
What is that?
This is where the simulation hypothesis gets even more intriguing.
Okay.
Because we start to explore the possibility that our journey within this simulated reality might be about far more than just existing.
This core loop idea, it almost sounds like the simulation has like a purpose,
Yeah.
a bigger picture that maybe we're just not seeing.
Yeah, that's the really interesting part.
Okay.
This isn't just about us potentially being lines of code. It's about what that code might be striving for.
Okay, so less we're trapped in this digital prison and more like we're playing a really, really advanced video game.
Exactly. And the goal of the game, if we can even call it that, might be our own evolution, both individually and as like a collective consciousness.
So even if our reality isn't what we thought it was, that doesn't mean that like
Right.
our experiences, our relationships, our personal journeys, none of that has meaning.
That's the empowering message here.
Okay.
It's not about denying the reality we experience, but expanding our definition of what reality could be.
I like that. But if this core loop exists, how does it actually like work?
Okay.
Are we talking about constant reboots, different timelines? What?
So think of it like this. Imagine a cosmic save and reload feature.
Okay.
Every decision we make could create like a fork in the path,
Okay.
a new branch of the simulation where a different outcome plays out.
So we're always exploring these possibilities, learning from our experiences, and then what do
Right.
we get to choose which timeline we end up on?
Well, the how and the why of that are still open questions. Okay.
Some theorists even suggest that this core loop is powered by a quantum computer,
Okay.
allowing for countless timelines to run simultaneously.
So it's like our consciousness is surfing through the multiverse, trying on different realities.
Right.
And making choices that shape our path.
Precisely. And if this process is truly about growth and learning, then even mistakes, failures,
Yeah.
they all become part of this larger journey of evolution.
It's a much more optimistic view than like the typical sci-fi version of like a simulated world
It really is.
where it's like, oh, it's scary and bad.
It's like the Matrix, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is very different.
Yeah, and it makes me think about the idea of lucid dreaming.
Yes.
Like imagine becoming aware inside the simulation that it is a simulation.
What if,
What if we could then like change the code?
right, could we influence the code?
Yeah, bend the rules, escape.
Exactly.
That's wild.
That's like leveling up in a video game, right?
Oh, so we're not just players. We become like game masters. Perhaps as we evolve individually and collectively, we might unlock a deeper understanding of the simulation itself.
So enlightenment, spiritual awakening, that could be us reaching the highest level,
It's possible.
transcending the limitations of the code and seeing this bigger picture.
Yeah, it's a captivating idea.
Wow, so we've covered so much today, from the Mandela effect and quantum mechanics to like
Right. It's a lot.
the very nature of consciousness and
Yeah.
the possibility of digital immortality.
I know.
It's amazing how this one question, are we living in a simulation, just opens up like a million more.
And that's the beauty of this kind of exploration.
Yeah.
We may never know for sure if we're living in a simulation,
Sure.
but these thought experiments force us to think differently, to challenge our assumptions about reality,
Yeah.
and to appreciate the profound mystery of it all.
That is a really good point, and I think that's a good place to leave it for this deep dive.
I agree.
You know, we may not have any answers,
Right.
but it sure is fun to think about.
It is fascinating.
Right.
It really makes you think.
It really makes you think. So for everyone listening out there, keep those questions coming.
Yes, please do.
We love diving deep into these topics with you. So until next time, keep exploring and keep asking those big questions.